Welcome to Love Where You Live, a podcast where we have conversations about why it's awesome to live in Boulder County and the surrounding area. So today I'm joined by a good friend of mine that I've known now for about 15 years, if I do the math correctly. Probably that's not right. 20 years now, Larry Frieder. And when I introduce my friend Larry, some of you guys know the name. You're gonna be introduced to a fantastic, knowledgeable, experienced, I would say, incredible doctor. But no one ever says Dr. Larry. We all just say Larry. You say, I'm going to see Larry. Probably half of Boulder is going to know what you're talking about. Larry Frieder, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Boy, I think it has been even more than 20 years.
I was saying 15 just because I forget that we're already 2024. I think before I give my first memory, because I love to share a first memory when I'm sitting with someone, but I'll say this. Dr. Larry Frieder, what I know is that you've been practicing private practice as a chiropractor for over 30 years. You'll tell me exactly how much. And prior to that, I didn't know this, but you were at the CU Sports Med department for 10 or 12 years, 13 years. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so tell me real quick a little bit about if you were, and I know you do amazing work outside of chiropractic work now, but just to help me introduce you to everyone, tell us what it is that you do from a business standpoint now.
Well, I'm still doing sports chiropractic.
Yep.
That's been 35 years.
35 years.
35 years last month. Sports chiropractic, developed a specialty in extremities.
Okay.
I think really getting into foot adjusting is really what got me into sports medicine and runners and triathletes.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I'm also doing mind-body work.
Yeah.
Working with subconscious blocks to healing, working with injury mindset, various physical symptoms coming from subconscious issues, traumas, triggers, things like that. And I've done holistic gut coaching for probably 15 years now.
And that's okay. Super. I like having you share that out because I don't want to overlook anything, and I'm bad with missing steps. So that's where you are now. We're going to go back. I do want to say what I can kind of intro my first memory of you, and this goes back to early 2000s, probably 02, 03. And I was getting massage from Chris McFarland, and she was working on a lot of top athletes in the area. And what she said was, Michael, you're the only person, I think she was trying to crack my foot at the time. She said, you are the only person that I see that doesn't work or get treated by Larry. And I'm like, well, that's not good because so what does that mean? And she said, you have to go see Larry. And I said, all right, I'll go down there. And I went down to your spot on Table Mesa, South Boulder, where you still are. And I walked in real apprehensive and not knowing what chiropractic work was, not knowing anything. And I walked in and I just was met with what I really believe is, and this is a true compliment, one of the most caring, loving, inviting personalities. Like you just came in and just immediately I felt like I knew you for 5 years. And that's, I remember that from 20 years ago. And then I said, well, what are we doing? And you said, well, tell me what's wrong. We just sat there and again, the care extended. You took care of me, and the rest is history. I've been seeing you, off and on. I'm going to go soon, but it's been a couple decades where you've taken care of my body. So that's my first memory.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's good. Yeah, it is good. And so, if we go back, let's start where we like to do is where, I don't know this. Where did you grow up? And tell us about your childhood a little bit.
I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens.
What?
I grew up in the pavement, the cement jungle.
All right. So
I just grew up running around on the pavement and concrete.
Yeah.
And when I was about 11, my parents started renting a bungalow in the Catskills.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of fell in love with mountains and trails and nature, and just kind of wanted to be back there every chance I got ever since.
Okay.
And let's see, my parents took me to a college fair.
All right.
At the Nassau Coliseum, 350 colleges.
What?
And this was in Long Island. And we kind of split up and kind of toured all the colleges there for an hour or so and met up, and we handed each other the CU catalog.
Really?
Yeah.
So you had each grabbed that?
We had each grabbed it and handed it to each other after looking at 350 colleges.
That's cool.
And I looked at that CU catalog and the Flatirons on the cover.
Yeah.
I knew absolutely nothing about Colorado.
Right.
Nothing. And I was like, yeah.
In.
And my dad took me there like later that year. And you know that you're driving on 36 and you get to the top of that hill at the scenic overlook.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure every single person in Boulder has experienced that.
Right.
That scenic overlook is the first thing you see.
100%.
And it just kind of gets you, you're just like, this is it, man. I can totally feel
That's so good. So so that was it. You went, was it literally though, after you all handed in the brochure, did you think of somewhere else, or you're like, no, I'm going to see you. This is it.
I had University of Vermont was there too.
Yeah, for sure.
Closer.
Yeah.
But I was hoping I didn't get in there, and I didn't.
Perfect.
Because I wanted to go to Colorado. I wanted kind of to be far away from New York. The whole Western scene out here. Yeah. And it turned out my cousin had chosen CU Boulder same time. We had no idea, just completely out of nowhere.
Is that right?
She chose the same school, and we came out here together and got to be like best friends.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And she was where? Also back in New York?
She was in Westchester. She was up north of the city.
North.
Yeah.
So, all right. So just prior to going to college, you're in New York. You've gotten exposed to the mountains. But what did you do in high school? What was your kind of activity? What brought you forward?
High school. I moved to Long Island a couple of years before. Last 2 years of high school.
All right.
Which was a radical change, going from the city to the suburbs.
Yeah.
And the city was kind of, it was diversity and all that. And you go to the Long Island and it was just all white, all kind of country-like. It was a radically different thing. And it was really hard to connect with people in the city. But I was on the golf team.
Okay.
I was number 5 on a foursome. So I didn't quite cut it. But I got lots of free golf. My score never counted, so there was zero stress. And I kind of stayed a mediocre golf player, ever since. But
Okay. Do you still play?
no, not really.
No.
Off and on a little bit, which was funny when we moved to Longmont.
Yeah.
We were on a golf course.
On the golf course. Okay.
But 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday, it's just a lot.
It's a lot.
So,
Okay, so all right, so you're Long Island, you're average golfer, and you've decided to go to CU. You're driving in, and yes, we can picture that because that is at Davidson Mesa, the view, and I think it does get in your soul. So what when you showed up at CU, what's the plan? You're like, I'm here, I'm this East Coast, I'm this New York kid in Boulder. Was it a shock? Was it amazing? Was it weird?
it was a shock. It was, but it felt totally like home,
Okay.
And when in high school, they do those aptitude tests.
Yes.
So all the aptitude tests said, you need to work with your hands.
Okay.
And of course, they're like, oh yeah, carpenter,
Sure.
auto mechanic, all the blue collar kind of hand stuff, which I love doing that. But I always wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'll be a veterinarian. I love animals.
Okay.
It's total passion. But then I hurt my back waiting tables
Okay.
in high school.
All right.
Weddings, bar mitzvahs kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hurt my back. My mom sent me to a chiropractor, and my whole family had been to chiropractors for, going way back. And went from like an 8 out of 10 pain to miracle adjustment, big crack. Oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, wait a minute.
There you go.
Doctor and uses his hands.
Yeah.
This is like the total
Jackpot.
The jackpot. And I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing.
Okay.
So that was kind of on my mind, although I never really liked school.
Sure.
But I got to see you and, just it was all about exploring trails and, School for that first year or two was kind of on the back burner, but
back burner. So what was it when it was on the back burner? What was on the front? What were you doing in those early days?
The front was hiking and partying.
Okay. Yeah. Not at the same time or occasionally?
Occasionally, yeah. But, after that first year, I think the thing was in high school, moving to a different school, not knowing anybody, having like zero social life.
Okay.
So I think once I got out of there and got to school, it doesn't matter where it was. I was like, oh my God, this is great.
Amazing.
Everybody just wants to be friends. And so it was awesome. So, I kind of got that out of my system because I did zero partying in high school.
Okay.
And zero kind of, connection.
Right.
So I got that going.
Mm-hmm.
Then I kind of calmed down and started taking pre-med classes.
All right.
And that's when I kind of buckled in.
Got a little serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. And so you're in, and it was a kind of typical CU, your roommates, you got your cousin, and you're just making friends and vibing in the hiking. Were you skiing? Any other outdoor activities here that first?
I was skiing. I was never a really good skier. All my friends were from like the California Bay Area, all like big powder skiers.
Gotcha.
I had my 155 ice skis, skiing upstate New York. They're like, they were like 155s.
Right.
You sharpen them so you can carve the ice.
Carve it. Oh,
and
man.
I do, you do your usual carve and face plant.
Right.
And then you turn and face plant.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
This is weird.
And they're like, just let the snow slow you down. And I was like, no, I can't do that.
Oh my gosh.
So plus, couldn't really afford a whole lot of skiing.
Yeah.
So I kind of never really got into it too much.
It didn't light your fire. Okay. No, that's good stuff. And so those early impressions though, you're in Boulder. What can you cherish? What year was that? Like you came in here, what first
I came
4
into
years?
Boulder 79.
79.
The Pearl Street Mall was a year old.
It was finished as a walking mall, but it was 1 year old.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 1 year old. I think the only chain store on the mall was Haagen-Dazs.
Okay.
That was it.
Which they're just closed recently,
Did
I
they
think.
really?
I mean, or maybe they're still there. They share a space.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, 79, 80. Tell us about what was it like? No chains. There's the mall.
It was
pretty cool.
It was Hippieville.
Yeah.
It was chill. In the summers, we used to hitchhike from Table Mesa and Broadway
Okay.
down to the mall. In the summer, on a Sunday, we'd wait 20 minutes for a car to go by.
Is that right?
Just completely, Boulder was off the map. There was no tourism. There was no reason to go there if you didn't really live there.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of graduate programs at the time. So
right?
the summer just emptied out.
Sleepy.
Just lots of Birkenstocks and hairy armpits and
Tie-dyes.
tie-dyes. And I think the uniform was Birkenstocks with those wool socks with the red toes.
Oh, yeah, for
Everybody
sure.
was wearing those.
Uh-huh.
And it was great. I learned how to eat in Boulder.
Tell me about that.
Just natural foods, organic foods.
Okay. In 79, 80, 81?
79, 80, Terracini Market. Was this little market over by Lolita's.
All right.
And just roommates. I grew up in the city. I grew up with frozen vegetables and sugar and
bagels. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. City.
Junk food.
Junk food.
And I learned to eat out here and just total healthy
amazing.
Lifestyle. It was fantastic.
Big change.
It was a real big transformation. Yeah. And I totally embraced it. I've always loved and craved that kind of food, but
for sure,
it just wasn't around growing up.
Okay. All right. That's cool. And then, I could just imagine, and this is the Boulder that you sort of hear about. You got to experience it. Some of the highlights there: diet, exercise, like-minded people. Were you finding that a lot of people that were drawn to it in that time frame were sort of in line with what you were into?
Oh yeah. One thing I remember about Boulder, which you still find on the trails now, is everyone you would never walk by someone without them saying hi.
Okay. Yeah.
Just so friendly.
Yes.
You wouldn't get that in New York City a whole lot.
Yeah, a lot of
Just
looking
kinda-
away.
Yeah, looking
No eye
away.
contact.
Looking away, pulling their dogs away from each other and stuff. So just that kindness and friendliness, and it's just a whole different vibe.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. And then you just mentioned, and this is fascinating to me, Table Mesa and Broadway. That's essentially where your office is now. Were you always kind of down there in South Boulder?
I've been a Table Mesa guy ever since.
Ever since.
All my rentals in college were there. Yeah, when I opened my practice in Table Mesa, that shopping center was 50% vacant.
Is that right?
It was a ghost town up there.
90,
And
90
yeah,
89?
this was, 89, 90, 91.
Okay.
Yeah. And, South Boulder, I think, had always been thought of as kind of like a place you'd settle for. It was like North Boulder, downtown.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
the Tony area,
Okay.
where
Yeah.
everyone wanted to be.
Totally.
And Table Mesa was like the affordable area.
Sure.
But it was always such a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Trails like Shanahan Ridge.
Okay, now we're talking.
Still, you can go up there and there's nobody there.
It's beautiful.
You'll see a few people at the trailhead, and you get up there and you hike for an hour, and there's not a soul up there.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so that was and you were drawn to that in that time as well, hiking, being out in those trails, on those trails.
Yeah, loved it. Just exploring up there.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay. So I know at some point, and I think you went to CU, you've graduated pre-med, you've got to get the degree. You've got to go to medical school. You had to where did you go? How'd that?
I was so burnt out on school and I couldn't imagine going back to school, but I also couldn't see doing anything else.
Okay.
So I got a crappy job.
All right.
Cooking for alfalfas.
No way.
Yeah. They had a clinic out east.
Okay.
And, not a clinic, a shop.
Okay.
A kitchen.
A kitchen.
Yeah. And,
Okay. I'll figure that one
so
out.
I got a job washing dishes,
No way.
thinking I need to do something like this to kind of burn me out and get me back into school. And so I washed dishes. The baker quit that week and they made me the baker.
All right.
So that was a little more fun, still getting up at like 5 a.m.
Okay.
But worked washing dishes and baking for about 9 months, and that was it. That was good enough. I was ready to go make some more student loans,
do something else,
get some more debt.
I mean, to the unknown, to the people that are maybe newer, alfalfa is kind of the original Boulder natural store, right? I mean, it's pre Whole Foods, it's pre Sprouts, pre all the others, whether they're Trader Joe's. I mean, we're going back. Alfalfa's, and you're working for them, and you're like, man, forget it. Got to go to school. And did you leave Boulder?
I did. I went to St. Louis. I would have stayed if Boulder had a chiropractic school.
For sure. Okay.
But I ended up in St. Louis and kept going back to Boulder and visiting. And amazingly, I had probably a dozen really close friends from CU that kind of stuck around.
They graduated and stayed here.
So I had a community still back here.
Okay.
And didn't really consider going anywhere else. I just wanted to come right back and get started.
So how long were you gone? How long does it take?
I was gone 3.5 years.
Yeah. Standard. Yeah. Okay.
And, I got back here and everyone was saying too many chiropractors in Boulder. Don't even try. Yeah. It's flooded, which is probably like less than half of what there are now,
Right.
And I got really intimidated and I worked in clinics in Denver.
Oh, because of that forewarning.
Yeah, just like, it's too many. You can't make it. And I failed in one clinic after another.
Is that right?
I worked in a auto injury clinic for a year.
Gotcha.
And then I worked downtown Denver at a corporate wellness clinic.
Okay.
And then all the way out in Littleton at working at a clinic in a health center.
All the while living in Boulder, driving? Or more or less?
Living.
Okay.
I lived in Denver for a little bit.
Curious,
I lived in Morrison for a little bit when I was in Littleton. And I just failed. And I happened to go in to see this chiropractor in Boulder.
Okay.
That my girlfriend at the time was seeing. And this guy was amazing. And he's like, what are you doing? Man, you got to be where you love to live.
There you go.
You got to be where you love.
Yeah.
And if you're where you want to be, you're going to make it. It's
Oh,
just going to
amazing.
happen.
Great advice.
Exactly what I needed to hear.
Totally.
So I packed it up, started my practice with $400 in a credit card,
Nice.
and just hit the ground running.
And that was immediately, I'm going to be South Boulder, same spot or no?
Not really. It just happened that there was an empty chiropractic clinic that was just vacant for like 3 years.
Okay.
And this chiropractor in Arvada that was living in Boulder had like rented it.
Okay.
And it was an extra room, and he said you could rent this for $400 a month.
Beautiful.
So I had enough for 1 month's rent.
Yeah, you could do it.
And I did it. Yeah, it was kind of run down and threadbare, but
it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. And it's so funny because that advice, like, you know, my career now, real estate, my previous career, triathlon, it's like you come to Boulder saturated by real estate agents, saturated by triathletes. You've got to be, you know, you've got to compete same as you. And you rose, I feel like you rose to the top. Now let's go to that. So how did you get it? How did you decide to specialize in sports medicine?
I was, that last job in Denver was at a health clinic.
Gotcha.
It was a clinic in a gym.
Okay.
So I started getting introduced to sports medicine there. And I opened up my practice in Boulder, and I was trail running, and I hurt my ankle.
Gotcha.
And no one could figure it out.
Okay.
Physical therapy friends, chiropractors.
Wow.
And, you know, in chiropractic school, we get like one class in extremities.
All right.
Feet, knees, ankles, everything, one class. So we get a little bit.
Yeah.
But not certainly a specialty.
Understood.
And nobody could figure this out. And then some foot adjusting seminar came to Denver. And I took this class, and I begged the teacher at lunch to take a look at my ankle.
Okay.
One big adjustment, miracle,
Totally.
no more pain.
Amazing.
And I was like, this is a niche.
It's a thing.
Nobody's knows how to work on feet.
Sure.
So I started working with feet and active imprints. Do you remember active imprints?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Absolutely.
were, you know,
Danny.
still are. Danny and Jennifer Apfire.
Yeah.
They were right around the corner from me up in Table Mesa.
That's right.
And started working with them, and they started sending me all these triathletes.
Amazing.
That's who introduced me to triathletes. And they're downtown now. R.L. Smith is took over that.
Trish and RL, yeah.
And
put his
still
name down.
referring to those guys.
Of course.
To this day, they're the best.
Yeah.
And so they were like my break room.
Yes.
And you know, I'd walk runners up there and triathletes up there, and you know, talk shop with them and learn what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they, you know, between getting into feet and meeting those guys, that was like my door into
That's
the
so
triathlon
cool.
world.
And I will tell you, and it's funny because I saw you recently. This is just an anecdote, but I don't compete or train at a high level anymore. But I know when I saw you last, the game changer that I didn't think I went in there for something else. Hey, my hip's tight. You adjusted my foot. And all of a sudden, something that was just bugging me went away. And it's why is it so overlooked?
I know.
It seems
I know.
like it's the feet.
Yeah.
They always touch the ground. I mean,
it's true. Well,
so
you know,
important.
chiropractic school, we're taught that the foundation of the spine is the pelvis.
Right.
And you got to
Makes
get
sense.
the pelvis dialed in. But of course, the feet are the foundation of the pelvis. And
Right.
and you see people, they'll sprain their ankle, and a year later, they'll get IT band syndrome or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all
the feet.
To the feet.
Okay. I mean, and not like this is not a sales pitch, but I will say that. I mean, my daughter's 10 years old, and you treated her one time, and she's 10, and you're like, have you sprained an ankle? Oh yeah, I fell off my dad's skateboard. Well, here's the problem, and it's amazing. I don't want to spend the whole day on that, but fantastic. So you're growing. Sports Larry's Crack House is what the T-shirt said. I have a very vivid picture if I don't still have the T-shirt. And this is also why you're so cool. You're a doctor, you're serious, you do incredible work, but you had that T-shirt and it said Larry's Crack House. It was a black and white T-shirt. We all got some. You got going and you got to work with athletes. Tell us about some of the highlights. I mean, I've written down Olympians, Ironman world champions, track athletes, the best of the best. I mean, professional cyclists. What was that like in kind of that or still is? What's it like working with the best in there?
Such a rush. A little nerve-wracking at first.
Okay.
You know, you've got someone's career literally in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, But a big highlight was starting to work at the Ironman.
Yes.
Being on the chiropractic team.
Meaning in Kona.
Yeah, in Kona. Yeah, working with Tim DeBoom and all those guys.
Right.
And we'd get to Hawaii we'd get to Kona a week before the race and just work on 600-700.
How good is that? There,
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and then working up at CU at sports medicine department up there, and it was it's like the difference between tuning up a Toyota and tuning up a Ferrari.
Both very important.
Yes,
but different, right? Different outcome, different goals.
Well, the beauty of working with athletes is they have so much body awareness.
Okay,
and so an average person, you do an adjustment, and they're like, yeah, that kind of. I think I'm feeling a little better.
Yes.
Athletes like, oh my God, my stride is different. I could feel more flex, just insane amount of feedback.
For sure.
So fun. So working with a group that has all this body awareness, so in tune to their body.
Yes.
And you're dealing with people that just lost a race by half a second.
Wow.
So you can imagine how easy it is to imagine, okay, a little bit of balance in the pelvis can make the difference between winning or losing.
Night and day. Wow, that's so cool. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it's and all those. I mean, I knew you were foundational in my career, and I was never an Olympian or a world champion, but you were. Like, we relied on you. We counted you as one of our top most important 3 people on our team, Amanda and I. And so I think back to that time, any funny, like obviously HIPAA might be listening to me. Is HIPAA a person? No, but confidentiality aside, is there any like fun stories where you're like, I remember this one time when I had to do something and save someone's ankle, or anything like that just rises to the top of your memory?
Oh my gosh.
That you're allowed to share.
I don't know. There's so many of them where it's, people are just distraught.
Yeah, come in tears. Of course.
It's always during the taper. It's always like
taper.
The week before, 2 weeks before a race, everything starts falling apart.
Yes.
And it's just such an honor
to be there.
Have people coming in where they've been training, for this, and especially when I was working a lot with Ironman.
With Ironman, yeah.
How many races can you do in a year? So you're spending months and months.
For sure.
And so much can happen, whether it's your diet or whatever it is that the tiniest little thing snowballs.
You just reminded me, because I think I learned this from you, that in that taper and seeing you in the taper, I learned this. Well, guess what? You're sitting more. I had never thought of that. But it's like, we're exercising 10, 15, 20, 30 hours a week off and on throughout the year. And then when you taper, you cut that and you sit more. And I remember talking to you about it. It's like, well, all of a sudden the pelvis or the posture is changing because you're not doing what you're used to. You're sitting down. Yeah. So there were suggestions, if I remember correctly, about sitting, on the floor maybe, or you before the race, you're not trying to sit in a chair like this. But cool stuff as I just have my memory jogged back to the day. So, okay, now you're here, you're full on. You mentioned dogs, and I've loved your dogs, Fergus. I was thinking of Fergus, but all of your dogs over the years. Tell me a little bit about interacting with Boulder off the schedule, not at work. Where did you mention Shannon? Where do you love to walk the dogs, hike? What's your favorite kind of out and about in Boulder for trails?
Shanahan Ridge has always been my go-to, especially since it's, maybe 5-minute walk from my office.
Okay.
Shanahan Ridge.
Perfect.
So was always my daily dog walk.
Yes.
And do you remember Maurice?
I remember Maurice.
Maurice was a big, giant, 100-pound Italian Spinoni, just a big, goofy, drooling dog.
Yeah.
And we were hiking one lunch break up Shanahan Ridge. And sometimes you just stop in your tracks and the hair goes up on your neck and you're like, someone's watching me,
Yes.
You just get this feeling. And I just stop and I'm looking around and I'm kind of scanning, on the way down from Shanahan. And nothing's happening. but I know something's watching me.
Okay.
And then I look down, and Maurice comes running up with this dripping, bloody deer leg.
Oh,
Like this thing was ripped off this deer like 5
Recently.
minutes earlier.
oh my word.
And I'm like, that's not yours.
That drop, leave it.
Drop it. And let's
Wow.
get out of here.
So you never saw the mountain
No,
lion. We'll
did
just
not
call it out.
stick around for
You're
that.
okay. That's what a cool. I love that. I do love Shanahan. I mean, North Shanahan Trail, South Shanahan Trail, folks that are taking notes. We haven't heard this one mentioned yet over the last few weeks. And it connects to Mesa Trail.
Yep.
It connects to,
There's the North Fork and the South Fork.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can take it all the way up to Mesa Trail, and then you can take it across to Big Blue Stem.
that's right.
and down Shanahan Ridge, and
Beautiful.
then takes Blue Stem down to South Boulder Road.
There you go. So just get up there, Lehigh or Greenbrier, kind of coming in off Table Mesa, drive around, park,
Yep.
and
What is
just
it, Cragmore, I think
Cragmore.
it is.
Yes.
Where it's not really, it's a trailhead, but
Yeah.
it's really indiscreet.
Kind of a little, it's a little neighborhood rabbit path almost. And you get on the trail. What a fun memory, though, that you're sharing. And I'm glad you weren't munched. I'm glad Maurice wasn't munched. But okay, so that's a good one. And then as we look, because we like to talk about this, the favorites, and you've been here. You have from my count, it's really more than four. It's 50. If you moved here, no, you moved here 45 years. Yeah. So 45 years. Over the years, they've come and gone. But if you were to just kind of say one of my best go-tos here for a cup of coffee or a meal, like if we're going out, where are we going? What do you think is the best stuff here in town?
Well, I just got my iced oat latte over at Laughing Goat.
Okay.
Love the Laughing Goat. And of course, Trident.
Yes.
Old school.
Both on Pearl,
Yeah.
right? East Pearl, West Pearl.
Yeah. Used to love Cafe Soleil up at North Boulder.
Have you been over there recently?
I've been to Boxcar once. I haven't really spent a lot of time over there.
Totally different vibe. I went on a week ago, and it's nice. It's
nice.
just different.
Yeah, it's kind of minimalist,
A little bit.
and but it's it looks
Great coffee.
Great coffee.
Great coffee, and it was bustling. I showed up at 8:15, and about 40 minutes later, it was chock-a-block.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the view from their patio of Bear Peak and all.
stellar.
It's great.
It is. Okay, so you're a Laughing Goat, and folks, they haven't tried that out. There's a few locations we have here, but certainly on East Pearl, and then there's the Baby Goat. Now, if you ever want to hit way out by the post office, 51st,
Yeah,
55th.
the Baby Goat was my stop when I was living in Longmont.
In Longmont. Yeah. Okay, so look, that's good. We'll circle back, but you mentioned Longmont. So you've lived in South Boulder, Longmont, Denver.
Yeah.
What's kind of best place you've lived, something you love about Boulder, Longmont, why you've moved around? Like just share some of that. It's interesting.
Well, Boulder will always be my home away from home. Obviously my office is still here. So
sure.
I'm here 3 days a week now and doing more kind of more mind-body remote work.
I love that.
A couple of days a week. When I met my wife, Macy, she was living in Denver.
Right.
And so she moved in with me in Boulder, and I was ready for a change.
Sure.
And she wanted to, explore. And we found this amazing home in Longmont, which, most Boulderites, Longmont, it's sort of like, it's like, okay, Louisville, Lafayette, Lyons, all the other L towns are kind of filling up. We'll check out Longmont.
Sure.
We loved Longmont.
Yeah.
Longmont was great.
Yeah.
Really,
Agreed.
They're really making a awesome effort at being like an artsy downtown area. And they got a little setback with the pandemic, but I think there's more music
Right. Is
in
there?
Longmont than anywhere on the Front Range.
I didn't know that.
Music in the brew pubs and it's
Good stuff.
It's a great scene there now.
Yeah. It's a cool. No, I think I love Longmont, and we get to spend a lot more time there now in our business. But we have friends, we have family, we have clients, and so we go there a bunch. And there's a lot of unknown, and like what you just said, I didn't know that there's good options for live music. I don't go out at night there that often, but that's cool. And were you guys kind of in that zone near Main Street downtown, kind of?
We were a little east of there, but
Sure.
5 minutes away.
Yeah,
everything's
easy.
pretty close there.
Perfect.
And so we were in Longmont for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we...
Any hot spots there, restaurants that you'd say, by the way, it's worth your
Let's
12
see.
minutes,
We
15
love
minutes?
Las Palmeras.
Okay. See, I write this down. That sounds like a Mexican
It's just
joint.
great family-owned Mexican.
Okay.
Las Palmeras.
Writing that down.
Yeah. Monotai.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like a mother-daughter
Okay.
from Thailand.
Okay.
It's a great spot.
See, this is good.
Yeah, there's Rosalie's Pizza.
Okay. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Rosalie's is about as close as to New York City pizza as you can get.
So I was just on, and this is shame on me for clicking the link, but I clicked on a next door in my email, and it said, how come there's no good pizza in Boulder?
I saw that.
You saw that one?
I saw that post.
Yeah.
And I was going to post, but I was like, I'm not going to get into it.
Right. It's like you kind of just want to, I don't want to enter the fray. But
Rosalie's is fabulous. Fabulous. Okay. Yeah.
I'm always on a hunt because especially if I'm out and I show a property and I'm coming back, I usually hit a food truck or a taco place because that's my jam. Mm-hmm. But I'll put this in my notes. So next time I'll just say I'll grab a quick lunch slice of pizza or something. So Rosalie's, it's on my list. Yeah. So then, okay, cool. Well, we're evolving your Longmont, and we can I like to get to some tips and tricks, but you've now gone to Denver for some city life, big city.
Never thought I'd be back in the city.
Yeah.
Never thought I would. We kind of got a little bored of Longmont after a bit.
Okay. Fair.
That sort of shuts down about 9:00 at night.
So do I.
And Macy had been in Denver for about like 12 years before we met. She was really into the comedy improv scene there.
I remember you saying that. Okay.
And so we started looking in Denver and found this cute little 1890 Victorian.
Beautiful.
Like a block from South Broadway. So we're walking everywhere.
Well, I love that.
No driving. So
Absolutely.
I'm commuting to Boulder, but when I'm home, no cars. It's amazing.
And thank you for coming to Boulder for the podcast.
And you know what? When you're in Boulder, Denver seems like you're driving to Kansas or something.
Sure.
Everyone's really intimidated by the commute to Denver, but it takes me the exact same time as Longmont, 30 minutes.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same time.
As in like office to Longmont. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. South Boulder's easy access to Denver.
Yeah. So 3 days a week, it's more intense for sure.
For sure. Well, it's it's a turnpike.
Focus,
a little more focus.
but I leave really early, and then I do yoga in the morning and take the dogs for a walk. And I do a lot in Boulder before I get started. So
fantastic. I mean, we get spoiled, and you talk about the bubble and the Boulder County bubble, the Boulder bubble, and you don't leave it, but it's not that far. It's not that you time it well. It's an easy drive to anywhere in Denver, really. So, all right, we'll kind of come a little bit here as well, where there's something I want to talk about your business. But before I do so, if you were gonna offer, some of our listeners are here, they're under a rock, they don't know these restaurants you listed, but some are moving here, and we do have some people that say, you know what, this is a moving to Boulder episode. If you're going to give a tip, you're coming to Boulder, you're moving here from New York, you're moving here from West Coast.
Yeah.
What's a tip of getting into the Boulder or the Denver even or the Boulder County rhythm? How do you anything that comes to mind that you wish you knew maybe?
It was so easy for me because you go to
because you're Larry. No, go ahead.
you get into the dorms.
Sure.
So all of a sudden you've got 100 best
That's
friends.
True. That's
so
true.
It's like this instant kind of like community. But I would say just join a group.
Okay.
A hiking group.
Yeah.
Triathlon group, book group, whatever.
Whatever you love.
Start getting into the community that way.
Okay.
Or just
for sure.
Just get active with people that are doing what you love to do.
Because they're here, right? I mean, I feel like this area draws, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's probably some amazing world-class, like yourself, world-class chiropractor.
World-class everything. That's what's so amazing about Boulder. It's like it attracts people that could live and do what they're doing anywhere.
Anywhere, and they come here.
Like for a town of 100,000 people or whatever, to have the talent of like orthopedic surgeons, and neurologists and chiropractors, massage, the healthcare is just the bar is so high
That's right.
that there's like zero tolerance for, a crappy massage in this town.
I know.
It's like everybody knows the most amazing person.
Yes.
And, and the food is great.
Okay.
And so there's such a high bar for, because people just want to be here.
They want to be here. And I see why, you see why. It goes beyond that first view, which the view is captivating. Like I said, it gets under your skin, into your heart and soul, but it backs up. So to come back to your current, you do, and I find this fascinating. Like, I know your personal history, you had dealt with Crohn's disease your whole life. You've had some health lows, some health highs, and what you can just tell me, what would you say you offer? What's like something for people that are looking for help, or they need to come and see you, the telemedicine in person, just a little summary of kind of what's going on at, well, we'll call it Larry's Crack House.
Yeah. Well, obviously the chiropractic,
yes,
the sports medicine, extremity kind of thing, is a love of mine.
Yes.
Being a holistic practitioner.
Yes.
Spending decades seeing people that might be coming in for the same thing often,
right,
or a lot of chronic stuff, and really wanting to explore, what else is going on here?
Yeah.
Why does this keep coming back?
Totally.
And so the mind-body aspect of it was something I've always been exploring.
Yes.
I'm a yoga teacher, and so originally it was yoga and meditation.
Okay.
Incorporated into coaching. And I discovered this practice called RIM.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Generating images in memory.
Okay.
And initially I was volunteering for someone going through the certification.
All right.
And this is a process, it's hard to describe. It's your eyes are closed. You're facilitating using the imagination as a translator for the subconscious.
I've got you.
So it's sort of like hypnosis and EMDR and brain spotting and Jungian psychology. And so you're looking at what are the subconscious triggers that are where people have, it triggers anxieties, and then those anxieties become physical symptoms.
Right. And
so I had amazing results with getting into remission from Crohn's.
Yeah.
Using this work.
Personally.
Yes. And I was like, this is it, man. This is like the missing link in my coaching work. And got certified, did another year, got the master's certification. And it's become like really the core part of my my coaching work now.
That's so good. Thank you.
Fantastic work.
I tried to read up on it because that's really cool. And I think right now, if you're listening to that going, hey, that intrigues me, dive in further, because I do believe that we're sort of at a point in the world where there's an end to that separation of mind and body, where before it's like, we treat the mind, we treat the body, this, that, and the other. Now, no, not only are they obviously together, but they affect one another so much, right? I mean, either way.
This is the future of medicine.
I'm with you.
And it's all about self-healing. It's about, the power of the mind to heal is absolutely unlimited.
Limitless, yes. Unlimited. That's so cool. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, because it's totally intriguing to me. And I'll ask you this: where can people find you? I mean, I'm going to sort of try and send people your way to learn more about you. They'll be intrigued. But are you online, website, anything you want to share to track you down?
Website is bouldersportandspine.com.
That's right.
And
and that's it.
I'm online.
And this doesn't happen. I a little bit old school here, but I remember, and this is how much I love Larry and have appreciated him. His phone number is 303-494-0944. I'll say it again, 494-0944. It's easy to remember. It's an easy number, but no, I tell people all the time, Larry, and this is funny because when I was a coach or an athlete, naturally I share your name. But now I'll be showing a house, my back, my neck, whatever it is, my hip, my ankle. And I tell people all the time, I said, well, just let me tell you, my friend Larry can take care of you. And if you're interested in referral, and I just tell them the number and they're like, why do you know it? I said, well, once you meet Larry, you'll know. I remember things.
Well, I have something called a real estate agent hip.
There you go.
where you're in your car, getting in and out of your car 50 times a day, and
Yes.
you're like stepping up and spinning on your left foot.
Yeah, hilarious.
In and out.
Hilarious.
So
Yes.
state agents get left hip issues.
With that in mind, I'm going to book an appointment because my right foot, my left hip, we need you. All three of us need you. So no, it's awesome. Anything that when you were thinking about this, you thought, I can't wait to share it, and I didn't ask you because I did a bad job. Anything you want to share that's left unsaid?
Man, it was so funny because when you asked me when to do this, and I was like, oh man, I don't live in Boulder anymore. Do I still qualify? And it doesn't really matter where I live. Boulder, Niwat's curse. It's like no matter when or if you leave, you'll always find yourself back here, and it's always. Towns just kind of sticks with you.
That's right, Larry. You said it, and you're always welcome. I mean, it's called Love Where You Live, and we say Boulder County, but you love where you live, and you've already brought that up several times. So you're a perfect guest. So thank you for being here, and it's fun for me to connect. I know you so well, but to get to spend 45 minutes has been an absolute treat. So I do thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been really fun.
Been fun. Well, we'll share this, and folks that are listening, you know the phone number, you got the website. Check out more on Larry, and thanks for listening today. And before our next episode, as I always do, I encourage you to go out and do something that you love.